Welcome to our study called The Curse, and it's from Genesis 3:14 through 24. This week we're going to start just an introduction to what we're going to be talking about. So, at the beginning of chapter 3, we watched the serpent come to the woman in the garden. He tempted her with the promise of knowledge to become like God. Satan tricked Eve into thinking that if she gained the knowledge of good and evil, that would make her wise. It would make her better. And Satan knew that it would only serve to drive mankind away from God. Adam, on the other hand, knew what was going on. We're told later in Scripture that Adam was not deceived but committed a willful act of rebellion against God. He knew what he was doing. Immediately the relationship between Adam and Eve began to sour. You see that right away. They came into the realization that they were now naked and they had something to hide. So they felt the need to cover themselves up. They had to cover over that sin and guilt that they had. Then God made his presence known to the fallen couple. And he, of course, knew what was going to happen. He always knew what was going to happen. But he chose to engage them in questions. He could have come in fierce wrath and struck them dead right there. He could have started over with Adam and Eve 2.0. But he doesn't do that. He asks the questions and receives the answers that, frankly, he's always known. The two, by their admission, stand guilty of breaking the command of God. But what would happen next? God promised certain death to Adam if he ate from the tree. But what did that mean? Think about it. Adam had never seen death. His knowledge of God was still very small. God had not demonstrated what justice was. God had not displayed his holiness in contrast to evil. God had not shown that he was merciful. God had not shown that he was long-suffering and patient. God had not shown that love is sacrificial and keeps no record of wrong. What would God do to Adam and Eve? Well, after every trial, there comes a verdict and a sentencing. In Genesis 3:13 through 24, we find God, the perfect judge of his creation, pronouncing the verdict and sentence upon the guilty people and against the serpent. After reading the curse, we see the immediate aftermath, and we read through the rest of the Scripture, we find what God had planned from the foundation of the world, what he was going to do about the evil that had entered into the universe. So our study this time, we're going to look at really four main parts. We'll examine the curse directed towards the enemy, Satan. In the second part, we'll look at the pain of the woman, followed by the pain of man in part number 3. And finally, after God has finished pronouncing the curse, what happens next? This huge upheaval occurred in the universe. How do we move on from there?